Hello, it's Ren Presents time. I'm your host, Ren, and today we continue with the sixth turn of the Shadow Tech Goddess, subtitled Cat, Part 4, Chapter 2, The Hall of Mirrors. Let's begin, shall we? Cat slept for 2 days after the dance, a deep, cleansing sleep. She didn't even fuss about the bed, her body usually preferring the cold, hard marble of the floor, which she found most comfortable. She didn't even want to tie him up and have sex. She was out fast. Many of his sisters took their leave as she slept, vowing to return to continue getting to know Cat, whom they now appreciated much more than before. As she slept, A-Ram's words filled his head. We'll be back in 4 days. We'll meet you atop Marion's Hill. He teemed with questions, many of which he was impatient to have answered. He was certain of one thing, though. A-Ram and his love, Lady Alesta, had steered him and Cat together. A-Ram said he considered Cat his daughter. They watched over Cat, fed her, clothed her, armed her. The topic Professor Sherlamp had proffered, the topic of Covis, a replacement for Gwen, danced across his thoughts. The professor had wanted to perform research to scientifically locate him a suitable Covis, though she had assumed such a person would be a stately member of high society, not a filthy crawler from the Black Hat's Shade Church dungeon. He lovingly gazed at his cat as she slept, tiny in her nightgown, her blonde hair with freshly shaved temples mussed, her head sunk in a pillow's embrace. She snored a little. He imagined A-Ram and Alesta somewhere far away, laboriously going about their task of picking Cat. Was it a big list they had to choose from, he wondered? Who gave them the list? Were there many names? Who were the other names? And how did they decide upon Cat? At first glance, the most unlikely choice possible in a world of choices. In any event, they had picked with their hearts, knowing him possibly better than he knew himself, outperforming anything Professor Sherlamp, with all her data and statistics, could have achieved. All these things he would soon know. Once Cat was back on her feet, following 2 days of deep sleep, Stenstrom wondered how best to tell her that her angels were soon to visit, and that they weren't gods or anything of the sort. They were simply good people, friends, putting their own lives on hold in order to guide them. "So, Cat," he said at the grand dining table, "we're soon to have visitors." "More visitors? Who?" "Some old friends of mine who have promised to come and make your acquaintance." "Oh, cool," Cat purred as she buttered her toast. "You know them as well," Stenstrom blurted. "I do?" "They are Lord A-Ram and his betrothed, Lady Alesta." "Doesn't sound familiar." Her knife scraped over the bread, spreading the butter. "A-Ram was my helmsman aboard the Seeker some years back. He was at the dance." "He was? I don't think I saw him. I don't remember that name." "No, you were so tired from all the dancing. He didn't want to give you a start." Cat giggled. "A start? Why would he have given me a start?" She took a bite of her toast. Stenstrom decided to get it over with and simply tell her. "Because, Cat, A-Ram and Alesta were the ones who provided for you in Clovis." Cat dropped her toast. "What?" "A-Ram and Alesta were the angels who helped care for you. Alesta is a pilgrim of Marion. They wear lovely green robes, just like the one you described seeing." I don't understand. How did..." Stenstrom threw up his hands. "I don't know, darling. I don't have any details right now. A-Ram came to me at the dance. He knew all sorts of things he couldn't have known otherwise. That's why he didn't want you to see him. You were so tired, and the shock might have been too much for you. They're going to meet us atop the hill tomorrow, and they promise to answer any and all questions we might have." Cat assailed him with questions, few of which he could answer. For the rest of the day, Cat was beside herself, pacing the halls of the manor, looking twice into every nook and alcove she came across, muttering to herself, clingy one moment, distant the next. She didn't want her lunch or her dinner, and she didn't even want to hang out with her friends, the cooks. She went out onto the terrace and stared at the sky for a long time, as if she expected to see A-Ram come flittering down from above. Despite what he had told her, Kat still considered A-Ram and Alesta to be gods, supernatural beings, though technically they were supernatural, Volgrams from another universe. That didn't make them gods, though. Yet she had operated under that notion for too long to cast it aside so quickly. The only way to convince her otherwise would be for her to stand in their presence, see them, and hear their words. The next morning, Kat was eager and ready to go to the hill. She had removed her gown and was shoeless, wearing her old green outfit A-Ram and Alesta had given her. She even had her Shadowtech tail formed, though it had changed from black to a happy shade of silver. Also, she had her old battered basket. Hand in hand, they went up the hill to the top, where the old Marian ruins and the grave sites of her 3 sisters basked in the sun. Hours passed. No A-Ram or Alesta. After a while of waiting, they got bored. Kat even opened the basket and showed him what was inside. The basket, as well as many other things, had been forgotten as of late. She pulled out a few burned-out books she had collected in Clovis, all written in what looked to be Old Vith. Some broken-up bits of soap that appeared to have been sculpted into animal shapes. Bird had done that, she told him. And a dirty felt bag containing 3 silver cubes. "Centrills," she said, holding them up, the 3 objects nudging together in her palm like silver rocks. Inspecting them, the centrills appeared like nothing more than small silver cubes etched with tiny markings. "What do these do?" he asked. "Destroy Shadowtech and hide me from the sisters' gaze. They really work too. Here." Kat took the cubes and placed them in a triangular configuration in front of her. He could feel the force the cubes created. The holy stones in his pocket shook with it, and after several moments, he couldn't see Kat any longer. She simply vanished, only to return a moment later as she picked them up off the ground. "Well, those are remarkable," he said. "Even without instruments, I could feel their potency. We'll look at them more closely later." Kat put them back in the bag and placed it in her pocket. The final thing in the basket was a photograph Kat said was of him, though it was so dirty, moisture-stained, and badly warped he couldn't make much out of it. Kat held the photo to her heart and carefully placed it back into the basket. "I fell in love with you over that picture, G." "Ah, how cute," came a voice from behind. They both whirled around. Standing there was a bizarre woman in black. She was rather tall and undeniably curvy in a tight-fitting black oilskin suit. She wore black boots with precariously tall heels, gloves, and a light cape that shimmered in the afternoon sun. On her head, she wore an odd metal helmet that obscured most of her face except for her pale nose, mouth, and chin. A glowing purple visor covered her eyes. Both Stenstrom and Kat reacted upon seeing her. The sight of her struck deep. Stenstrom had seen this woman before, possibly in another universe. "You must want something," another version of him had said. "I want you in my debt," the woman had replied. "I know you," Kat stammered. "Course you do," she replied, her mouth movements very pronounced and expressive. The light from her purple visor grew in intensity. "You should know who saved your life. Yes, the last time you saw me, you were flat on your back, bleeding out after all that unpleasantness in Clovis. Our good friends, A-Ram and Alesta, convinced me you were worth saving, so I did it. I saved your life. I healed your wounds. I also knocked all those ugly memories from your head, though you seem to have recovered most of them. Next time I go knocking around in somebody's head, I should do it a little harder." "A-Ram and Alesta, where are they?" Stenstrom asked. "What have you done with them?" The woman put a gloved hand to her heart. "I haven't done anything with them. They're indisposed, off assisting another version of you right now. The female version, I think. The various versions of you command much of their time, so I decided to come in their place. She smiled, showing her lovely teeth. I'm nice like that. Stenstrom didn't trust this woman. He put a protective arm around Kat. And how is it you know A-Ram and Alesta? I am... Oh, how should I say it? I am A-Ram and Alesta's boss, so to speak. Everything they've done, everything that's happened, has been by my leave and my sanction. They were dumbfounded. Looking her over, she seemed to radiate a fierce, otherworldly presence. Stenstrom spoke up. So what are you? Are you human? She giggled. Do I look human? Yes and no. She seemed perplexed. No? She puzzled a moment. So in what way do I not seem human? Tell me, I'm curious. Stenstrom and Kat looked at each other. You have an off-putting, otherworldly presence that defies imagination, he said. The woman put her hand to her chin and rubbed it. Oh, I see. In any event, A-Ram was totally right about you. I'm thrilled everything worked out. I'm happy you two didn't fight each other to the death in Clovis, and that you're well on your way to learning to read, Kat. I could just give you the knowledge to read, in any language you wanted. But look what the journey has brought you, both of you. Look what you two have created. I could just get all misty right here and now, but later. Right now, we have work to do. What work? Important work. Work that needs doing. So come with me, and let's make this happen. A light came on in one of the Marian ruins. Cool, musty air issued out of the open doorway. The woman went to the doorway and knelt down. Her light cape fluttered in the breeze. You coming? She asked. Of course we're not coming, Stenstrom said. Whatever work you expect of us is none of our concern. Sure it is. Listen, I could force you to come with me right now. I could just put you in it and let you blunder around. But I don't want to do that. I want you to come with me on your own. You've always impressed me as being a good fellow, Lord Belmont. No matter what universe, no matter what guise you take, you've never been afraid of responsibility. To place the lives of others before your own. So don't start now. You have all sorts of questions about all sorts of things. I can answer them for you. All you have to do is come with me. Once this is done, you can look forward to a long life together, however you'd like it to be, full of adventure or full of quiet familiarity. Don't come, and somebody else is going to have to do this for you. And that's not the sort of fellow you are. So what's it going to be? Stenstrom gave Kat a kiss and straightened his HRN. I'll come. A life with my cat means everything to me. If there's work that needs doing, then let it be done. Kat, please return to the manor and await my return. Kat took his hand and bound it to hers with a twisting of Silvertech. Like hell, G, you're not going anywhere without me. To look after you and all. What are you thinking? So let's go. Bound together, they entered the Marian ruin with the woman in black. They found themselves together in a long, darkened corridor. The air around them felt humid, cold in comparison to the warm, sunny breezes of Marian's Hill. Where are we? Stenstrom asked. The woman walked at their side, her boot heels noisy with each step. You've had a quick primer on how the universe works, right? How there are an infinite number of universes. This is the fabled Hall of Mirrors. It acts like a threshold from one universe to the next. This is a null sort of place. It technically isn't anywhere in particular, but it can be anywhere, and it can look like anything. Realm hopping isn't really good for the structure of the universe, and this place is supposed to prevent it. Regardless, some people spend a lot of time in here. They just never know it, and that in itself is extremely dangerous. Bad things happen in the Hall of Mirrors. In case you're not aware, you've been in it yourself quite a lot lately. I have. Yep. Up ahead they saw something. In the center of the corridor, a woman sat at a fancy cherry wood desk with Dragon Ball feet. She was slender and quite attractive, raven-haired, sitting with perfect posture and grace, wearing a conservative Calvert ladies' suit. Holographic screens racing with passing information floated in procession around her head as she conducted vast amounts of data with apparent ease. Stenstrom instantly recognized her. "That's Professor Hannah-Ben Sherlamp, the one who tried to kill Kat." "Kill me?" Kat asked. "Over some nonsense at the Ibana ball." The woman walked up to Professor Sherlamp, who took no notice of her and continued working. "Don't worry, she can't hear or see us. There are many journeys into the Hall of Mirrors. Each is separated by a thin but rather sturdy film of reality. The professor here has made it her life's work to understand the Hall and how it works, and ultimately to control it at her whim, all without realizing she's often in it, working her computations." Kat approached and looked the professor over. "She's pretty." "She's a maniac," Stenstrom said. "Why'd you want to kill me?" The woman answered. "Because in her experimentations, she correctly determined that your husband, Lord Belmont here, is an extraplanar entity, and that losing his Lady Gwendolen created her an opportunity to further her knowledge." "What opportunity?" "To locate him a Covis, a replacement for Lady Gwendolen. The broken heart of Lord Belmont could not have been repaired by just anybody. It needed a special person, and that special person is a Covis." Essentially, the professor and A-Ram and Alesta were doing the same thing, both looking for a Covis to replace Lady Gwendolen and heal his heart. But Professor Sherlamp's investigation was skewed by wealth, by social standing, pedigree, and all those other things often given high value in polite society. Her innate bias spoiled her findings. Her search for the Covis would have turned up nothing, and that would have been a disaster. Kat was wide-eyed. "My angels?" "Yes, A-Ram and Alesta. They embarked on the same search Professor Sherlamp did, only they did not allow the foibles of society to taint their findings. They followed their hearts, ignoring names and titles, allowing their search to take them into the dark, meager places Professor Sherlamp wouldn't have thought twice about, looking for that perfect little bit of hidden light for their friend, Lord Belmont. And they were successful. They found you, Kat." Kat closed her eyes and placed her hands over her heart. Tears came running down her pale face. Stenstrom embraced her. The woman gently patted her on the shoulder. "Would you like to see?" Kat nodded. Yes, I would." She held on to Stenstrom. "This is a moment I've been waiting for. To see my angels, to look upon their faces." The corridor around them, as well as the seated, laboring image of Professor Sherlamp, vanished. In its place, a sunlit, grand open space appeared, a vast library appointed in blonde hardwoods carved into delicate, mystifying shapes. Razor-thin windows admitted powerful yellow light. Books of delicious colors inset with jewels lined towering shelves. Sitting at a long rectangular table were two people, a man and a woman, both of them leaning over a long vellum scroll that, unrolled, went off the tabletop all the way to the floor. The vellum was black with tight writing. Cups of half-drunk coffee steamed before them. The man, a smallish blonde-headed fellow, wore a modest dark blue suit, his coat removed and draped over the back of his chair. His white sleeves were rolled up, lenses hanging down at the end of his nose, his face buried in the vellum. He was taking notes, a pen held tightly in his right hand. The woman sat next to him, her arm over the man's back. She was black or dark brown haired, everything pinned up with a number of combs. She wore a sparkling green robe of jewel-like luster over a more modest white smock. A number of green and red necklaces clinked at her neck. Kat took in the scene with tearful wonder. So, here was A-Ram's betrothed, Lady Alesta, Stenstrom wondered. Surely, other versions of himself knew this woman, possibly called her a friend. He searched his memories, looking for a brief glimpse of her there, but got nothing. She was very pretty, Her face and blue eyes were haggard with their work, as if they had been at that table for ages, poring over the vellum, trying to make an impossible choice. Kat looked at these people, at the green robe worn by the woman, awe in her face. "Are these—" The woman nodded. "Yes, this is Lord A-Ram and Lady Alesta sitting there in the Library of Time on camera. On that vellum scroll are thousands upon thousands of names, as assembled by the gods of camera. Each name on that list is a viable covis for Lord Belmont. Possibly Professor Sherlamp also came up with some of the same names. In searching for a covis, there is considerable danger, for if the wrong one is selected, disaster strikes, and there is no real method to tell the difference. This is the task A-Ram and Alesta were given, a grinding, methodical search, an impossible one that eventually led to you, Kat. They protected you as best they could, provided for you, and guided you to where you are now." Kat was breathless as she gazed at them, the color draining from her face, her eyes heavy with tears. "You all right?" Stenstrom asked. She was transfixed, taking in their features. I've been waiting for them. Gee, all this time. I wish to hear their voices, to touch their faces, to fall to my knees before them." "You'll see them in person soon enough," the woman said. "And there's no need to get on your knees. They will embrace you as their adopted daughter, whom they love, whom they defended and argued before the gods to protect." Kat reached out to them, to touch them, but the image of A-Ram and Alesta in the Library of Time faded. The dim, stony corridor of the Hall of Mirrors returned. Kat's angels were gone. "Where'd they go?" she asked. "Come on," the woman said, all in good time. They continued on down the corridor, Kat reluctant to leave, taking Stenstrom's hand. As they walked, Stenstrom was puzzled. "I don't understand. Why all this fuss over me? Why do things like this always seem to come about with me at the center? First it's the sisters and the power they insist I share, and then the lady in gray who haunted my childhood, and then Professor Sherlamp, and now I've witnessed my friend A-Ram and his love hard at work in some distant place, laboring to assist me. Why? Who am I? What is this all about?" The woman wasted few words in response. "Okay, I'll tell you. You're a Kadar Gamein. You've heard that term before. You, and others like you, for you're certainly not alone, are supposed to protect the universe from danger, from beings attempting to cross over. Like I said, crossing over from one universe to the next is bad news, and some beings can really do a lot of damage should they succeed. Enough damage to even cause the destruction of various universes. The Kadar Gamein is supposed to stop them, to protect the universe from harm, and for that, the universe rewards you handsomely with power and accolades." "I want none of that," Stenstrom said. "Doesn't matter what you want, does it? The universe wants it. It's done. As such, all sorts of troubles find their way to you. They are drawn to you like moths to the proverbial flame." They arrived at a crossroads. The corridor they were walking down dead-ended, while a new corridor running left and right went on in either direction for as far as they could see, the air dominated by a chattering, machine-like sort of silence, where a multitude of unseen things bumped and banged about. To the left, if they squinted, they could see a pinprick of orange light far away in the distance, floating like a lonely star. To the right was a bastion of utter darkness. Something horrid stirred in it. Kat looked at the dark and shrank from it, wrapping her arms in with Stenstrom's. "Gee, there's something down there," she said, terrified of the dark. Placed in the center of the crossroads, between the two corridors, was a fluted stone pedestal, standing about waist high. A plain bell-shaped device sat atop the pedestal. Before it, the shadowy, half-seen images of people, hundreds, possibly thousands, knelt in deep worship, going down face first to the ground and coming back up in chaotic procession. "Who are these people?" Kat asked. The woman shrugged. "Punts. Don't worry about them for now. Right here is where all the action takes place, so to speak. This is the intersection of the Hall of Mirrors. The corridor we just came from is known as the Hall of Mundane. It goes back to where you started, back to sunny Marian's Hill in Tyrol, safe and sound in your own universe. The Hall of Mundane is the safe part. Most who attempt to cross over, like Professor Sherlamp and the punts here, never make it out of the Hall of Mundane, and that's how it's supposed to be. She pointed at the stone pedestal. This is what stops them. The anatameter. Stenstrom's thoughts flared. The anatameter. Doesn't look like much, does it? She said. Don't be fooled. Anatameters wield incredible power. They are dug into the heartbeat of the universe. For each universe, there is an anatameter sitting in the crossroads guarding it. Stenstrom and Kat leaned in to have a closer look. The anatameter was a smooth, bell-shaped device made from carved, fine-grained stone. It was ochre in color, unadorned, and remarkably unimpressive, though if they looked away from it, it seemed to carry a slight, greenish glow. A single knob was placed in its center. The anatameter seethed with power. The guts of the anatameter are complex in the extreme and can be crafted only by a select few. What's it do? It clouds the mind. It alters perception, alters fate, alters space and time, even reality itself. And here they sit at the crossroads of the Hall of Mirrors. All those foolish people seeking to pass it fail, unless you have the authority to alter the anatameter itself. She placed her hands on the anatameter and turned the knob at its center one click. Stenstrom looked at the anatameter, so unadorned and plain. "What is this?" he had once asked the tall woman in his office. "Anatameter," she replied. "Is it dangerous?" "Very." "I know," the woman said. "And you lost it in Clovis. That anatameter was made special just for you. Turning its knob alters your fate just a little bit, bending the entire fabric of the universe in the process. Turn the knob all 8 times and quite a bit is changed. Only you can turn its knob, but others can still claim it, take advantage of its power. You'll see in a second." She walked past the anatameter into the corridor beyond. Stenstrom and Kat followed. Now, let's pay attention, right? This here is the second part of the Hall of Mirrors. The part very few ever see. The dangerous part, I must warn you. This is the Hall of Possibilities. She pointed down the corridor to the left, to the point of light in the distance. See that light? That's the next universe. Go that way and you're there. The Hall of Mirrors links the two together. She pointed in the other direction to the right, to the hanging, clinging darkness filling it. On the other hand, go that way and you'll run into the hall's protector, the Shadowtech goddess herself. Her throne is always to the right of the anatameter at the end of the Hall of Possibilities. In a healthy universe, many times she's not there, her throne room sits empty. But in less healthy cases, she is there, sitting miserable, not saying a word, waiting to come out, waiting to destroy. Those puttering around in the Hall of Possibilities invariably stir her up, and they are never seen or heard from again. The Shadowtech goddess gets them. Sometimes she'll continue on, past the anatameter down the Hall of Mundane, and destroy everything, bringing the universe to an end in walls of Shadowtech. Just so you know, we have a pretty unhealthy case here. So it's most likely she's down there right now, sitting in her chair in the dark, waiting for us. The woman whispered, "We best not stir her up. See those punts over there in the Hall of Mundane? They're worshippers of the Shadowtech goddess, trying to curry her favor, to bring about her coming and put an end to the universe. They've been at it for centuries." "Why? Why do people do anything?" Here they are, deep inside the Hall of Mundane, unwittingly oh so close to she whom they worship. Stenstrom looked down the Hall of Possibilities into the darkness and cringed. He could feel the presence of the Shadowtech goddess down there at the end of the corridor, like the jaws of death waiting to spring. The Shadowtech goddess. Memories flashed across his thoughts, memories belonging to other versions of himself. "Who are you? I'm the Shadow Tech Goddess. Aren't you the Shadow Tech Goddess? He asked the woman. The woman thought a moment and tapped her chin with her gloved fingers. No. I like to tell people I am sometimes. I've told you I am once or twice, but I'm not. She glanced at the punts. Here, watch. She went past the anatometer, back into the hall of mundane, and waded into the group of punts, touching their indistinct heads, tickling their ash-like chins. The punts reacted, standing, dancing, shouting with apparent joy as they faded away. See, I gave them a little glimpse of me. It made their day. Now they can go off to wherever and think the universe is about to end. Then who are you? Kat asked. You have shown us much, revealed my angels to me, for which I'm grateful. You must be a goddess too. The woman thought a moment. Sure I am. I'm Atha. I'm my father's daughter. Don't puzzle over it for now. Come, let's walk this way. She led them down the corridor to the left, mercifully away from the dankness of the other end and the destroyer that might be waiting there. Along the wall were a series of notched alcoves set at irregular intervals down the corridor, one after the next. The alcoves were mere recesses in the wall, like a place one might hang a painting or a fine bust. The woman stopped at a notch and pointed at it. These notches here are known as the nodes of reality. The nodes do a number of things. They allow shortcuts across the universe, allow access into hidden places, and even passage if you wish. They're intended to be a sort of back door, allowing certain beings to pass through. Your loved ones have passed through these nodes. Your deceased Mirthig, Lady Gwendolen, once passed through a node such as these. Kat looked at the nodes and felt it with her hand. What about me? Did I pass through too? Of course not. You're a Covis. The universe won't steer you to Lord Belmont. That's why A-Ram and Alesta had to do it. Now listen up. Not only do your loves pass through these nodes, your enemies pass through as well. It's the universe's way of directing them to you. Think of the universe as a great labyrinth with a monster in the center of it. The enemies of the universe are like mice set loose in the labyrinth. The nodes are meant to open and shut, to direct the mice into the center where they may be dealt with before they can create mischief. And you, sir, and those like you, are the monsters in the center. Down the corridor, a trickle of light spilled out of one of the notches, dim at first, but quickly gaining in strength to a bright blue shaft that ran across the floor and snaked up the opposite wall. Oh, look! A node is opened. Someone's coming through. Wonder who it could be. A figure emerged from the notch, stepping out with lurid grace, dappled with circles of whitish-blue light. Stenstrom saw the figure and drew his pistols. "Demon!" he cried. It was the same creature that had killed Gwendolen and Clovis, a nightmare of flesh and metal writhing together, shrouded in blue light. It turned to them, its gaze like ice. "Wendell Knight," it screeched as it surged in Kat's direction. Stenstrom fired 2 shots. Green pulsing globes burst from his nth pistols and seared through the air and hit the demon in the chest. Without delay, it fell to the floor, quite dead. "Good shot," Atha said. Stenstrom ran up and kicked the demon over so he could look at it. Kat at his side. The dead creature on the floor was a mashed-up horror of flesh and circuitry, bonded right down the center. Female flesh on one side, metal linkages and sinister construction on the other. Lights adorning its metal half flickered and went out in succession as the monstrosity shut down into death. Sprouting out of a compartment on its left arm was a cruel-looking saw, the blade spinning down into inactivity. He had expected the flesh half of her body to bear the visage of Gwendolen. Kat had said the demon stole her flesh and wore it, but her flesh half bore no resemblance to Gwen. "That is Bella Thouser," Atha said. "The metal half of her is the worst Kamaran technology. The flesh part is one half of a Kamarian queen, Queen Wendell Knight." "That name." "I know that name," he said. "And this is what killed Gwen and stole the anatometer." "Yes." Kat looked down at the body. "This is what tried to kill me and Clovis. Gwendolyn's ghost warned me of it. Stenstrom stood over the fallen demon and gave the body a kick. Then it's over. It's dead. Is this the work you brought us to perform? Not quite, Atha said. Bellathauser is one half of Queen Wendelnight. What you have to understand is that the people of Camera, your ancient ancestors, are immortal. You and your people also have a bit of immortality to you, but the sisters keep it suppressed. Immortality isn't really a very good thing, and Camera is troubled with it to this day. Every bit of them is immortal, down to their molecules. Lose an arm? The arm still lives, and what's more, the arm dreams of what it once was. Whole. It becomes bitter and spiteful. There are two types of people on Camera, the Sulfids, who are whole, and the Grundids, who are just body parts, but still living. The Grundids love to turn Sulfids into Grundids, to make them join the club, so to speak. They captured Queen Wendelnight and split her right down the middle, turning her into a Grundid. A great hero rescued part of her, the right half, while the left half remained with the Grundids and became their queen, Bellathauser. Bellathauser has most of Wendelnight's intellect and her soul, but it's all jumbled up, malfunctioning, lost in psychosis, while the right half of her is mostly empty, has to be kept alive via sorcery. Bellathauser is quite insane, and in her madness is obsessed with rejoining to her other half. She drifts about from one woman to the next, thinking all of them are her missing other half, joining with them only to discard the flesh and join again when the opportunity strikes. She's dead. It's done, Stenstrom said. Ah, no, it's not. From the right-hand corridor came a terrifying cry. Dappled in lights, a half-metal, half-flesh demon emerged from the dark, hands raised, speeding towards Cat. "Wendelnight!" it roared. Cat crouched and darted aside, eluding the creature's grasp. Cat counterattacked, striking fast with her Silvertech claws. They bit through flesh, bone, and metal alike. Sparks, smoke, flashing lights. Before another moment had passed, the demon lay in sparking, bleeding pieces at her feet. Blood spurted and smoked. "Ew," Atha said. "That was also Bellathauser. Do you see our problem now? Here's what happened. Bellathauser managed to escape the gods of Camera who pursued her and fled into the Hall of Mirrors long ago, and she has been in here ever since. She managed to thwart the Anatameter because she is technically Queen Wendelnight of Mons Eagle, the wife of the man who created it. And none of the Anatameter's tricks work on her. She became a demon haunting the Hall of Mirrors, known as a V-Dogan. V-Dogans can emerge out of the nodes of reality anywhere. Destroy one, another pops up just as fast. And to make matters worse, the rules of time and place have no meaning in the Hall of Mirrors. Therefore, Bellathauser can show up at any time as well, from the beginning of time to the end. Makes her pretty tough to deal with. The one that attacked you in Clovis was a bit slyer than the usual mindless ones who come out. It attacked and took out Lady Gwendolyn, your Murthig, leaving you in a funk, too out of sorts to pursue her, and she took your Anatameter. With it, she has created a pocket node of reality with no entrance or exit. Her pocket node is parasitic, feeding off the energy of this particular universe. Eventually, it will destroy this universe and anything in it. You and Kat will simply cease to exist. And that's where we come in. We're going to confront Bellathauser, destroy her, and reclaim the Anatameter. And what's better? She has made herself vulnerable to attack. If we take her out while she's holding the Anatameter, then all the other instances of her will also be destroyed. She'll be gone for good. No more V-Dogan. And we are to do this, Stenstrom asked, to slay the specific instance of Bellathauser, the one that killed Gwen and wears her flesh? That's right. And the Anatameter too, don't forget. And she has taken up residence in some sort of pocket dimension that has no entrance or exit? Right again. So then, how are we going to gain entrance and face this demon? Atha smiled. Good question. If you wish to get to the center of a mountain, how do you do it? You make a tunnel, right? You burrow into the mountain. That's what we have to do. Burrow. Make a tunnel. How do we do that? Kat asked. How? By manipulating fate. By altering little destinies here and there. That's how. You start small, work a little magic, and get progressively bigger. Once that's done, we'll have made a hole right into Bellathauser's little playground, and then we can destroy it. Stenstrom sashed his pistols and put his arm around Kat. So then, whose fate are we about to alter? I've got the perfect thing to start with. You'll love it, Atha said. This way. Let's go. Nearby, a note of reality lit up in flickering greenish light. Here we are. So, friends, A-Ram and Alesta, they make a fine couple, don't they? Tell me, Lord Belmont, you didn't recognize Lady Alesta, did you? Kat looked up into his face as he considered his answer. No, I'm afraid I never had the pleasure. A-Ram told me he was engaged, and apparently his betrothed is a beautiful Marian woman. They seemed like a fitting couple. I was happy for them. Yes, they do, don't they? Atha said. So good for each other. It really does warm my heart. It might surprise you that in another universe, you know Lady Alesta very well. She flies at your side aboard the Seeker. She appears humble in her homemade Marian clothes, but she's a powerful priestess of her star, and she had the guts to deal you some tough love a few universes back. But here, in this particular universe, A-Ram and Alesta never met, and you never got to know her. The circumstances that brought them together in other universes never happened in this one. How profound lost moments can be. So, starting small, here's our initial task. Just as A-Ram and Alesta from a different universe brought the two of you together, you are now going to return the favor and bring them together here. We're going to assist my angels? Kat asked, hopeful. Yep. Isn't that fun? Once we get that done, we move on to some bigger fish. Kat looked down at her clothes, at her old green jumpsuit she wore in Clovis, braced by her armature of silver tech with claws. I would like that very much. I owe them. I can never possibly pay them back, but I need to change first. You're fine. Just put your claws away. I'll take care of the rest. She glanced at Kat's unshod feet. I'll even shoot you a nice pair of shoes. I love shoes. The taller the better. She motioned them to the node, lit up with swirling greens and wispy arms of white like a hypnotic fountain turned on its side. Kat had a question. All this seems pretty convoluted. Can't you just send us to Bellathauser? Not that I don't wish to help my angels, but are you certain this is all necessary? Sure it is, Atha said. She offered Kat a toothy smile. Trust me, I'm a goddess. I wouldn't send you on a wild goose chase just because I'm fond of these people, would I? Now, just go on in and remember, this is for A-Ram and Alesta. I will send them to you. It's time we give back to them a little bit. Stenstrom took Kat's hand. Ready, love? She nodded, and together they went into the node and vanished. And with that, we conclude Part 4, Chapter 2, The Hall of Mirrors. That was a long chapter. I am winded after reading that. Damn, I don't remember it being quite so long. So, A-Ram and Alesta meet the goddess Atha. She brings them into the Hall of Mirrors and tells them their task is to have at Bellathauser, the demon in blue lights. And in order to do it, they have to burrow their way into her horror realm that has no entrance or exit, get her to touch the anatometer, and take her out while she's doing so, which will be the end of her. And to do that, they have to go out and start doing little things, alter little fates and so forth. And the first fate they're going to alter is that of A-Ram and Alesta, who in this universe never met. We will examine that quest next week in Part 4, Chapter 3, The Thing in the Bathroom. And I can't wait for that. So, this is Ren Presents. I'm your host, Ren. Peace out.